damn it, go Broncos. Ding. Welcome to the first prediction episode, Broncos prediction episode of the 2021 season. I am Brandon. I never doubted Teddy Two Gloves or Two Masks for a second Perna. Today, I'm going to preview the Broncos versus the Giants game. We will compare each matchup and determine a winner by the end of the episode with a flawlessly arbitrary point system I have created. So buckle up, because it's going to be a long season. And I'm driving this vehicle with Melvin Gordon-like sobriety. That's good, Broncos! Hey, subscribe here to That's Good Broncos for Broncos prediction episodes in our Broncos podcast Will Keys and I do every week, multiple times a week. Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. The first Sunday of NFL season is here, and the excitement continues with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. DraftKings is giving all new customers a can't-miss offer to celebrate the return of the NFL season. Bet just $1 on any football game this weekend and receive $200 in free bets instantly, no matter what. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new users, all new customers, $200 in free bets instantly when they bet at least $1 on any football game. All you gotta do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DNVR to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That's promo code DNVR to get your free $200 in free bets instantly. This week, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You gotta be 21 or older, Colorado only, new customers only, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. New York football Giants at Denver Broncos. The last time these two teams met, the Giants upset the Broncos, and Al Michaels had to apologize for making a Harvey Weinstein joke during the broadcast.
I mean, let's face it, the Giants are coming off a worse week than Harvey Weinstein.
There's no Al Michaels this time, but maybe Mark Schlereth will mention Bill Cosby or possibly even Jeffrey Epstein, if we're lucky. If you're new to these episodes, I'm going to go unit by unit and see which team has the advantage or disadvantage, starting with the two head coaches, followed by offense and defense, quarterback versus quarterback, the injury report, X factors, and then the final score prediction. So let's start with Vic Fangio versus Joe Judge. In a lot of ways, looking at Vic Fangio is like looking into the future for Joe Judge. They are both old school coaches that command the respect of their players, eat too much Italian food, and to this point haven't garnered any results on the field. Now, Fangio is in a win or go home year, while I think Judge's job is a little safer, but he's got to show improvements in year two. It's not a hot seat, but like a nice, cozy, warmer seat at this point. The head coaches aren't the only storyline here, though. I think the Broncos have a big advantage when it comes to defensive coordinator Ed Donatel going against one of the most vanilla play callers in the league, Jason Clapping Hands Garrett. Granted, Garrett had to go a full season without Saquon Barkley, but this was an offense that was 29th in the league on third down and 31st in the red zone. So I'm going to give the Denver Broncos a half point in the coaching battle. Broncos offense versus Giants defense. I'll start by saying that I'll take the Broncos receivers against just about any secondary. Except, of course, the Broncos secondary. But fortunately, we don't have to worry about that. New York added Adoree Jackson this offseason, who, when healthy, is going to be a solid corner opposite James Bradberry. For the most part, those guys can probably do an okay job against Sutton and Judy. Adoree Bradberry, by the way, should also be an expensive handbag marketed for rich women. Adoree Bradberry. Now, where I think Denver has the real advantage is when you get 4 wide receivers on the field at the same time, because you're gonna get matchups like KJ Hamler versus Rodarius Williams or Tim Patrick versus Denari Holmes. The Broncos are so deep that few teams are ever going to have 4 corners as good as the Broncos' best 4 receivers, and I haven't even mentioned tight ends Noah Fant and Alberto. Whether Teddy takes advantage of those mismatches or just checks down all day is up in the air. The spot where I don't love the Broncos' chances is on the interior. New York has some terrific interior linemen in third-year defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, who had a career-high 11.5 sacks last year. Denver's big weakness is in the middle with center Lloyd Cushenberry, who needs to show he's improved substantially going from year 1 to year 2. If Teddy doesn't have room to climb that pocket, it's gonna disrupt the advantage Denver has in the passing game. Oh bother. I messed up my thing. Finally here, can the offensive line open up holes for Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams? The Giants were a pretty stout run defense last year, giving up just 4.1 yards per carry and 10th overall in yards allowed. So the Broncos may need to get creative on the ground to get things moving. I think Denver's offense versus the Giants' 9th ranked defense in points allowed last year is probably a wash. No points awarded here. Then we've got the Broncos defense versus the Giants offense. Here's a matchup I love. Von Miller returning from injury, one of the greatest men ever at forcing fumbles, versus Daniel Jones, who fumbled 29 times in his career. And keep in mind, this is a career that's only spanned 27 games. So the odds are good that Von Miller strips that ball, that Daniel Jones puts that ball on the ground at some point Sunday. Much like with their wide receivers, the Broncos are just as deep at the corner position. The Giants, you have Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard, both a serviceable tandem, but the big addition this year for the Giants was wide receiver Kenny Golladay, who they're paying $72 million over the next 4 years. Golladay also said this week that the Giants offense will probably be a little slow to get off, like me after 4 whiskeys. He's saying that because he's got a hamstring issue that he's been dealing with. And of course, the biggest question mark in the health group is of running back Saquon Barkley. Both Golladay and Barkley are expected to go on Sunday, but we have no idea how effective they'll be, how many snaps they're going to play, or whether this whole thing was a lie and they're both at 110% and they're going to combine for 500 yards against the Broncos. We just don't know. I don't see a ton of scenarios, though, where the Giants win this week. But all of them would have to include a breakout game from either Golladay or Barkley. If those guys aren't a big part of the offense, I just don't think New York has any other reliable playmakers that can get open against maybe the best secondary in the NFL. Saquon Barkley does scare me, and let's be honest, the Broncos' rush defense was not good last year. They gave up 4.8 yards per carry, which was 29th in the league, and allowed 130 yards on the ground per game. Good for just 25th overall. That said, their defensive line, I think the starting group played a total of like 6 snaps together. If healthy, I like ball slapper Shelby Harris, Mike Purcell, Draymond Jones, and hero of the preseason in rotation, Deshaun Williams. Another huge matchup to watch will be rookie Patrick Surtain, who's been designated as the Broncos' tight end stopper. He's going against Evan Ingram, probably. Ingram is sort of a tight end, sort of a wide receiver, sort of the only guy who can make Daniel Jones look like he has sure hands. So it's a nice transition for Surtain. I'm gonna give the Broncos a 1.5 advantage. Then we've got quarterbacks, Teddy Bridgewater versus Daniel Jones. Most of us assumed that we would get Drew Lock versus Daniel Jones, which would have been a matchup of the 2nd and 4th quarterbacks taken in the 2019 draft. Instead, Teddy Two Gloves wins the job in preseason, and while it does lower the ceiling for the offense a bit, Teddy gives the impression that the ball is going to stay out of harm's way and the offense won't get caught off guard. Daniel Jones Well, he had a tough season last year.
The Giants are coming off a worse week than Harvey Weinstein.
Throwing just 11 touchdowns in 14 starts, throwing 10 picks, and fumbling another 11 times. And I think tripping for no reason in the open field, like our sex god here in Denver, Big Dick Decker, once did. Both of these quarterbacks have something in common. They both played without their biggest playmakers last season. Jones was, of course, without Saquon Barkley, and Bridgewater was without Christian McCaffrey. Both players were focal points on their respective offenses, which I think took the two QBs out of their comfort zone last season. So I think there's a potential for both of them to be a lot better. That said, Bridgewater has shown what he looks like with the full arsenal of playmakers from the Saints, and it's more consistent and efficient than what we've seen thus far in Daniel Jones' career. If Teddy can put together performances like he did for the Saints just 2 years ago, the Broncos are in the playoffs. Daniel Jones is going to have to hit a gear he has yet to reach. Third gear. So give me Teddy by 0.5 point. Here's the final injury report. Ooh, that looks dicey for one of these teams. Okay, so Bradley Chubb officially questionable. Don't like that, but I do like Jonathan Cooper behind him, and I like Malik Reed even more if they use him on that side. Evan Ingram out. That surprises me, but he's got Kyle Rudolph behind him. A very, very good backup tight end, also who's better at catching. Ooh, then we've got X Factors. Given that it's the first game of the season, there are always some things that catch you off guard. I think it took everyone off guard when Daniel Jones ran for 80 yards against the Eagles. But despite the trip, we are now seeing him next fall. And it reminds us that Daniel Jones uses his legs very well. We forget that because he's white. But he can run the ball effectively. Jones rushed for 15 first downs last season, so the Broncos may have to keep a spy at times on him, making sure he doesn't tuck it and run it. Another X factor on the Giants side is running back Devontae Booker. The former Bronco gashed his old team on the ground as a Raider last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the end zone at some point again this week. All right, positive X factor for the Broncos, I think, Courtland Sutton and Von Miller. That factor. They both are coming back from season-ending injuries, and I think they're going to make a few splash plays to remind everyone they're gunning for comeback player of the year. And finally, my biggest X factor, Jerry Jeudy. I don't think anyone is going to benefit from the quarterback change as much as Jeudy, who runs great routes. We know that he gets open. Bridgewater won't necessarily... That's not the sound. He won't necessarily thread the needle, but if you get open, he will find you. I think their games mesh together better than Locke did with Jeudy, and that's going to show on Sunday. So the final score, my final prediction. And to show that I am not a biased predictor, I've got 5 points Vince to give his Giants takes, which will fucking suck.
Well,
Which might be okay.
here's the thing.
Okay, now you can go, Adam.
Thanks, Brandon. Here's the thing. I actually think that the Broncos will win on Sunday because Brandon has kidnapped me and placed me in his basement, and someone should please send help. Thank you. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Giants have made some improvements on offense. They've given Daniel Jones some weapons.
Don't forget to plug your channel,
I wish I could talk here. They have some weapons in Kenny Golladay, who's a little hurt, but they got Kadarius Toney, and Saquon could get maybe 5 or 6 carries. The defense is better, or I wouldn't say better, the same defense as last year. Essentially, James Bradbury is going to play well. And I got a lot of questions about Teddy Bridgewater being back there. So my pick is the Giants will win by whatever the opposite score that Brandon said. And fuck you, Brandon. Dick. Thanks for the meal, though. I appreciate it.
The Broncos get their first September victory for Vic Fangio, escaping with a 26-16 win over the Giants. The Broncos have a great chance to start this season 3-0, following this game with the Jags and the Jets, but the first step is in New York or Jersey, and getting off on the right foot would be a great change of pace that could propel them in the playoffs, and we, as Broncos fans, could finally have something to fucking celebrate in September. September win! Thanks for watching That's Good Broncos. Subscribe here on YouTube.